Money and You is sponsored by Elise Chocolate, the almondy toffee chocolate.
Hi everyone, I'm Richard Cole. I'm your host for the show Money and You. Our show is about the how to start a business, how to run it, all the problems you encountered. It will be shown to you, from business owners and from experts, right? And also we are going to be a showcase for our new businesses, and see how they struggle and what kind of pointers they can get, So please send in your email, okay, if you want to be interviewed, and we'll be glad to talk to you, okay? And for the previous episodes of our show, you can go on youtube.com/Cole Money and You, Cole being K-O, okay? And for more information, if you want to, is go to my website, colecashflow4u.ca. And our email address is colemoneyandyou@gmail.com. So please write to us. Tell us how you feel. Give us some feedbacks, You like me or you hate me or whatever. Please don't say you hate me. I have a thing against hating, especially people hating me. This week's the money tidbit topic is going to be, how does democracy affect small businesses, okay? First of all, I want to define the word democracy. Democracy is a form of government where people elected their representatives under a free electoral system, okay? So we have the right to vote, basically, okay? And it's free in terms of freedom, not in terms of costly, no cost, right? And the thing, though, is that only people can vote are counted, okay? People don't vote, you don't have a saying. You have to follow the majority voters, okay? And whatever they pick, you have to listen, okay? Now, to illustrate that to you, I'm going to use an example, the 2011 election in Vancouver, okay? Now, 145,000 people voted out of 419,000, voters, okay? These are qualified voters, they can vote, right? It's around 34.6% of the total eligible voters, okay? About a little bit more than 1/3, right? And out of 1/3, more than half of them voted for our mayor, which makes it around 18%. So we're looking at 18% of the, people that has the right to vote, okay, selecting or electing the mayor for us, okay? Now, what do you think, 18% representing us, and the 82%, no say, we just follow, right? Now, to give you some illustration, okay, how democracy is affected, it can affect small business. Like, people are saying big business is bad, they squeeze out all the small businesses, right? I don't quite agree with that, okay? I look at it and say the overhead is the one that really hurt the small businesses, okay? 2 nights ago, I saw it on TV, the news, right? It says Vancouver, the city of Vancouver, collected $40 million in meter revenue. 40 millions. Can you imagine that 40 millions going back to the retailers, right? How many jobs can they create? Think about that, right? And then property tax is going up every year. I mean, maybe they can't help it, but it is going up. It's hurting the small businesses, especially in downtown, right? Right now, a lot of small business move out. You go on Robson Street, you see empty stores. I mean, when was the last time it happened? It was quite a while back then, that I can remember, right? So, if you don't vote, you have to listen to other people. So if you want small business, then vote. Please go vote, right? The next item, it's being discussed quite a bit lately. It's about the shark's fin soup, right? And they want to ban that in Vancouver, okay? And as a matter of fact, 5 U.S. states already banned the soup, okay, and the possession and the sale of shark fin. And also, Toronto banned it, but they are in a litigation, trying to fight it. And New York is working on it, right? So a lot of people now are jumping on the train, right? Trying to get there. But is that effective? So let's take a look at it. This shark fin thing, right? The thing that everybody is against is not eating the soup itself, but it's the shark finning practice. So what is shark finning? Shark finning basically means the fishermen catch the fish, or the shark, and they took out the fin, okay? And they dump the shark back in the water, alive. I mean, this is so uncivilized, so unacceptable. But that's what they do. So in that sense, I can see the excitement, the thing to go after that, right? But is that effective, though? First of all, we look at it. 90% of the shark fin is consumed by China. In Vancouver, we have less than 1%, if that much more, right? And based on the facts that I've seen, they're saying 73 million sharks got killed last year, right? And if it's 1%, it's only 730,000 shark we're looking at. And I don't think we consume that many sharks, because only in special occasions people eat shark's fin, not every day, right? So that's why I don't think it's going to work that well. And the other thing is that fishermen that practices are all offshore. They're all foreign countries, right? We have no jurisdiction over them. We can't tell them what to do. So by saying that we go and ban the shark's fin in here, I don't think it's going to work. The only thing is that it's going to hurt some businesses. They may have to close the door. People may have to lose their livelihood. Less jobs. Think about that. My suggestion is that we should ban the shark finning practice. We should go to China, educate the people, tell them, don't take the shark's fin. Ban the shark finning thing. Force these countries to ban their, fishermen, their fleet, to stop doing that. And then go to these countries and tell them, educate them as to what the sharks is worth. I mean, the shark itself has a lot of medicinal purposes, It can heal cancers and all that. So why throw away valuable items? Okay? So for you guys, if you don't want to be extinct, your small business and medium-sized business, you don't want to get extinct, vote. Please do vote. Thank you. And today we have Mr. Doug Hayes going to talk about content management. And he's the CEO of Doug Hayes and Associates Limited, a fellow CA. So welcome, Doug.
Thank you.
And so, what the heck is content management?
Okay. Well, I'm going to put it in the context of an overall integrated marketing campaign for a small business or professional practice. So I'm just going to go through, and we'll put some slides up so you can kind of follow along. And hopefully this will be of help to you. So we'll go to the next slide. So we now know that the majority of people look for products and services by going to the internet. And so the World Wide Web has evolved over the years to be probably the most dominant source of where new customers are searching for products and services. And so the bottom line to it, you need to be there. If you're not visible in the search engines, effectively the business goes to your competitors. And so you say, well, I'm just a small business, how can I ever afford to do that? Well, actually you can, because Google bends over backwards, and the other search engines as well. I use Google a lot because Google's the largest search engine. So in the search game, what the search engines are interested in is delivering the best possible results for the person that's doing the searching. So if you have a business in Vancouver, or I'm searching for a product or service in Vancouver, I don't care about the results in New York.
Right.
So Google actually will deliver local search results and eliminate the other search results.
Right.
So the local businesses can do quite well. You can compete against Fortune 500 companies. if you know what to do and how to do it. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, great.
All right? So go to the next slide. I refer to this as the new marketing model. Mm-hmm. In the old days, we basically would push out messages. We would, do postal mailings, or we would do advertising, or we were basically shoving messages out in the hopes that one little percentage of it would respond.
Right.
And
I've done that before.
yeah. So I remember doing postal mailings, and if we got a 1% response, we thought that was really good.
Yeah.
The marketing model now that works is that you create content. That's what we're talking about in terms of content marketing, and you basically have the ability now, because of the internet, is to be in two-way communication with your prospects and with your customers. Never before in the history of marketing did we have that ability to engage like that. Mm-hmm. And so what we have now is an ideal situation for marketing whereby we can get our customers talking about what we do online, and they help us market our business.
Wow.
And the number one thing that people believe is what other people like themselves say.
Interesting.
So what your peers say is the greatest of influence to you in terms of, your decision to buy a product or a service.
I have to agree with that because I do that. I look at other people's comment.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or you get referred from a friend or whatever. So basically, we now have the opportunity through the technology that's on the internet to basically make that happen. Mm-hmm. And so these are the parts that all fit together to make that happen.
I see.
Okay, so our objective here is, as with any marketing, is it needs at the end of the day to generate sales and make a profit. That's why we do marketing. And so it isn't enough to have a pretty website or do any of these activities, social media activities or whatever, unless at the end of the day it actually results in sales.
True, yeah.
And so you measure all of these activities, whether they're offline or they're attached to the internet. Did it at the end, did it result in sales? Did it result in increased revenues? So our game is, how do we get more people to our website? Because they get to our website, then we have the opportunity to do the sale. Sometimes you can have offers on social media sites, and they can, take advantage of the offer right there. But in many small businesses, like service businesses, like any professional business, healthcare, whatever, you have to get them back to the website because they need to, they're not going to buy, an accounting service or a veterinarian service or any high-priced item, just by looking at an offer,
True.
off your site.
Exactly.
So our game is to get them to the site.
Okay. Now, we have to take a small break, unfortunately.
Okay.
You got me interested. So please come back. Don't change the dial.
Money and You is sponsored by Elise Chocolate, the almondy toffee chocolate.
Welcome back. I'm glad you've come back, I'm talking to Mr. Doug Hayes, and he's talking about content management. We're getting in the heat of it. Okay, so let's continue. I'm all excited about this.
Okay, so the viewpoint now when you have a website is you want to think like a publisher. You essentially say, in the old days you'd have a website, and there really is no incentive for anybody to come back to your website.
That's true, yeah.
So, but if you say to yourself, okay, I am now publishing an online magazine, think of it like that.
Okay.
Any website, you sort of have that viewpoint. And so there are all kinds of different content that you can add to your site that would basically make it of interest for people to come back. So I'm just going to list off some of the possible content sources that you can create. Mm-hmm. And these are all work for small business. I'm not talking about you have to be a really big company to make this happen.
Right.
You can do this as a small business.
Yeah. Do you have a slide to show people?
Yeah, it's this one here. You can switch this one. Okay.
Think like a publisher.
Think like a publisher. All right. So first one is video. So video is, used to be expensive and so on and so on. But now it doesn't need to be. You can, there's even handheld cameras. And some of the most interesting videos that go viral were not produced in Hollywood.
Right.
So it doesn't need to be the slick Hollywood production. In fact, it's kind of works against you because that's a little bit suspect. Whereas if you have like a natural, and the owner's talking about something, how to solve a problem, how you could use the information, these how-tos or educational, and sometimes you introduce humor, and that makes it so much easier to work.
Yeah.
For some businesses, like white paper works. And basically, what a white paper is a long article that documents how you do something, what the best practices are, and it's a little bit technical. Works great for like software companies. How you could implement. Let's say we're talking about your product or service has to deal with internet security. So you could have a white paper about best practices in internet security for a small business. That would be an example.
That's good.
And so that would be a document that you could have available on your website.
Good idea.
If you want to download this, we capture your email.
Right.
And now we have the email that we can then do, follow-up marketing. Did you like the white paper and so on?
Right.
So it's another form of content. The one I like the most is the next one called blogging. And blogs are basically informational articles that are relatively short, usually around 500 words, and they're written in an informal style. So it's like if I was going to explain something to you about internet marketing, I could write a blog about any of these subjects we're talking about today, and I would post it on my site in a blog. And it allows people to comment on the blog, then I can reply to their comments, and now we're into the two-way conversation. People can like it, they can tweet about it, they can post it to Google+, they can add it to Pinterest, the photo site, and all of these things starts the online conversation.
Oh, I see now. I see the correlation now.
Right. Email newsletters, another form of content. Email is really an excellent tool. People think, well, will Facebook replace email? And the thing to remember about social media is that you don't control Facebook, and you don't control Twitter, and you don't control Google+.
Right.
But you control your own website. You control your email, you control your blogs. And so a social media site can come and go, but if you can utilize them, and I'm not saying not to utilize them, but don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
Collect identities, collect email addresses, offer them something, and then continue to publish good content.
Good.
Audio, you can do audio interviews and then publish them online. They're called podcasts. That's another tool you can use. Press releases are a little bit more formal writing, and they get distributed using what's called a wire service, which puts them out to the online news media, and they get published there, and they link back to your website.
Yeah. All this information, you can catch it on his website, okay? So remember.
Case studies is another one. So you have, let's say you are a financial advisor. You could have a case study about, somebody you don't even have to mention their name, about what the situation they had, what your resolution was, and what the results were. And so it basically is in that format.
Right.
Articles, you can publish articles on your own site, or you can publish articles on other sites and linking back to your site. So all of these are good content ideas.
I see. Now I understand.
Okay. So we're going to go to the next slide. This is called outbound versus inbound marketing. So in terms of outbound marketing, these are, the billboards, the advertising, and so on. And basically, we're like pushing out the messages.
Right.
And there's more and more resistance to that. Just think of, you've got a remote when you're watching TV and the commercials come up and you just mute it.
Yes.
Okay? Whereas inbound marketing is we're using content marketing to draw people in because you're giving them compelling content and they're interested in it. I mean, I have emails I subscribe to, some I get every day, and they're that interesting. I don't necessarily read every one of them every day, but the ones I like, I'll read them, and sometimes I'll set them aside and read them later.
Right.
So that's the big shift. You really have to think about, content marketing and how to draw people in, as opposed to having shove out messages that people resist, and now have the ability to turn them off.
So it's still the quality versus the quantity, right? Rather than say, wow, I do 100,000 of them.
Right.
The old days, right?
Right.
100,000. What you're saying now is quality.
Quality, yes.
Got it.
Right.
You got it?
All right. So we'll go to the next slide. It's called Elements of Inbound Marketing. And so here's your sort of putting it all together. You got to have a visible website. That's the focal point of all your marketing. Do blogging. We talked about educational articles. You want to be involved in social media because that allows you. Just take, for example, you write a blog post, which is like an article. You put it on your website. Your blog is attached to your website. Then you put an excerpt of it on Facebook, an excerpt of it on Twitter. Then you get people to like it and forward it and so on.
I see.
Okay?
Okay.
The next slide is all these various social media networks. So we talked about how you can take advantage of creating content and then utilizing the social media networks to pass on your content. So people, especially small businesses, say, well, how do I make Twitter work or how do I make Facebook work? Well, if you have no content, you're going to go on there and you're going to go, well, what do I do? But if you're publishing content, then you've got something to talk about.
Right.
And you're not talking about self-serving messages. Like if you only go to Facebook and you say, oh, today we're having a special, $10 off for blah, blah.
Yeah, so many people do that. Yeah.
Right, and that's all you ever do, people will not follow you. You'll have a very small following. But if you publish good content, then you are going to do much better. So that's how you utilize the social media networks.
Yeah. I say you writers, watch out for this content thing. Might do you some good.
All right, so we'll go to this next slide called content marketing. And the way it flows in terms of like a sales funnel to you end up with sales, because that's our whole objective here is.
Right.
Is you have blogs, newsletters, and so on. You're utilizing, computers, and it can be published online. People can read it on tablets. They can read it on smartphones, wherever. All this technology is all based around content.
It's so amazing.
So that's where you go back to the philosophy, think like a publisher. So from that, you're going to generate leads. Right. And from the leads, you develop prospects, and from prospects, you develop sales. So the higher ticket items go through that process on usually takes a longer time to do it. If you're selling vitamins for $20, then it all can happen, with a click on the mouse.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Got it.
All right, so now we're going to talk about how you tie it all together, what I refer to as an integrated marketing strategy. And so we'll move to that new slide. So an integrated marketing strategy basically has 4 major elements. You have offline marketing, which means there are various things that you do offline. You could go to trade shows, you could go to, postal mailings still work or whatever. Then you have your website, then you have your blog, and then you have social media, and altogether, that's your integrated marketing strategy. So we'll go to the next slide, and in terms of the new marketing, we want people now to be talking about our products and services because we're giving them things to talk about. We're giving them products, or we're giving them content that will be of interest, and that's what they're going to talk about.
I see. So you want as many people as you can to watch you then. So how do you draw them in?
Well, you draw them in through basically by publishing content that's going to resonate with your target audience.
Target audience.
With your target audience, exactly.
I got you.
Now, you don't have to go too crazy with that. Like when we were doing postal mailings, we wanted to make sure it got sent to the right people.
Right.
But with internet marketing, you know, I've had people that I would never become a customer, but they know people.
Right.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
there was this author who recommended to me a publisher, and 2 years ago, that was my largest revenue all year, was from that one publisher.
Just like that formula. You tell two, everybody tells two, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And so
Great.
that's how it works.
I
But it
see.
starts with, you helping people, giving them information, and so on. All right.
So that sounds pretty good, you know. And unfortunately, we're running out of time.
Okay.
We'd like to invite you back more and talk more about it. Did you guys enjoy it? I really did. I learned a lot from this content management. It's so, you know, sometimes it's so foggy for me. So thank you for watching. Make sure you come to our website. Make sure you watch our YouTube for the past episode. And goodbye today.
Valentine's Day, wear what you wear to bed party. That's Valentine's Day. Starts at 7, goes till late. Everyone must be at pajamas or you're stripped at the door and you might end up in the orange suit that